Hey guys, welcome back to our timeline series. We've made it to arguably the deck of the format of last format, which is Warriors. It's a deck that me and Marco were both able to win giant cards with. And although we won giant cards with it, I look back on it not too fondly. Kind of played the deck out of necessity. It was the best deck to beat Serpent Knight Dragon and still handle the rest of the field. I won YCS Dallas giant card with it, and Marco won YCS London on Friday. So I'll be going over actually his London list. The list I played at Dallas was slightly different. It was kind of teched out for the decks I saw there because we got to play on Saturday all day, and I got to see there's a lot of relinquished, a lot of random decks, so I added stuff like Hammerhead, extra Death Tornadoes in the side, stuff like that, to really help what I knew would be played. With him, he was going in blind, and also I would say it was kind of the final evolution of the deck. 21 cards. In Dallas, I played 20, which at the time I didn't know, but after Dallas started testing for London, and a lot of the games in the mirror match would go to deck out without even trying. Just grinding back and forth, your deck would go to 0 before the games could really end, and someone could win. So playing 21 was a huge advantage because if you played 20 against 20, you either had to go first, and that's obviously not great. You always want to go second and see the extra card, but you want it to be the person controlling the tempo of the game, not be the one that's going to deck out at the end and have to rush and make bad plays because you're going to lose if you don't win before your deck runs out. So yeah, you couldn't pick second, you had to pick first, so we figured playing a 21st card was just way better than that. And yeah, so I'm going to be going over Marco's list from YCS London. 21 card Warrior, pretty much became the standard for the rest of the format after that. So here we go. So here's the deck. Side deck we'll save for later. Obviously we use Hidden Parasite, as most Warrior decks did, in conjunction with Eradicating Aerosol. This let you get rid of problem fields like Serpent Knight Dragon, Gentleman Lock, Command Knight Lock, which is good generic removal. It was half the reason to even play this deck. The other half the reasons in the monsters, which I will show you guys right now and get to that. So let's lay them all out for you. You got 3 Blade Knights, 3 Command Knights, 2 Zombina, and 1 Yomi ship for 9 monsters. So this was the other half of the reason to play this deck. Because Eradicating Aerosol was kind of weak in grind matchups where you're going back and forth, you'd rather have trap cards to be tilting. You don't want reactive removal in your hand. Don't get me wrong, it was still pretty good. You could time it so that was a good 1-for-1, or you could gain tempo back. It just wasn't an ideal card, and this card blocked out any other control-y kind of deck that had a better skill than you. So let's say, for example, Gravekeepers with Lucky Day. Dice Spoon's still really great, but Gravekeeper can't get through this. Neither can Tribal. Even if they draw 3 cards, they can't be Command Knight, and both of those decks search or draw cards, so you just deck them out. So this was your win condition against any other deck not Serpent Knight Dragon. And just by itself, it's really good. Bumps up everything. Helps in the Serpent Knight matchup because it can help bump Blade Knight high enough to kill Serpent Knight. Or even on its own, it's just 2 2,000 attack beaters. Really crazy. Zombina really synergizes well with it because let's say you have 1 Grave, summon another one, and then you have another Zombina. They can't kill the Command Knight before they kill the Zombina. So they're basically they're forced to give you the lock. Other than that, Zombina just another really great card because a lot of the format was playing Aerosol, and none of these cards are really floaters, so you didn't want to like summon Command Knight, Blade Knight, get Aerosol, you lose 2 cards to their 1. So it's much better to go like Blade Knight Zombina, Command Knight Zombina, something like that, So it's a good floater. Let you kind of play against Gravekeepers in a way against Oracle because, again, you don't want to commit a bunch of cards to get Oracled. So it's really good. Also, there just weren't any other monsters to play back then. Now, I guess you could kind of make a case for different cards, but you kind of had your 6 Warriors. Didn't really want to play like Gearfried or anything, so you had your core monsters. These were kind of extra copies of them and more since they're floaters. And then we played a 9th monster. Even in Dallas, I played a 9th. I played Hyper Hammerhead because there are a lot of relinquished and Serpent Knights that weren't playing Gentlemander, which is kind of crazy to think now. But or they were playing a lot of Speller Traps, so they couldn't add hand traps off the skill very often. Anyways, Yomi Ship is definitely the better card when you're facing a more competitive meta. We chose to play 9 monsters over 8 because we'd rather open 3 monsters more often than we open 0. And the math with 9 monsters and 21 cards was about 43.5% to always see a monster. And that was good enough. 10, I'm sure you know this without me telling you, if you run 10 monsters and 21 cards, you're gonna open 2-3 monsters way too often. So this was fine. You're still gonna have a couple games, go a tournament where you didn't open a monster, but hopefully your opponent bricks on that game, or you're just able to come back or play your way through it. So these 9 monsters, very good. I guess I didn't really go for Blade that much, but it's just the biggest monster. It was the biggest monster in the format. Had some combos like Death Tornado, but you usually never just went for those anyways. So yeah, weak defense, but very high attack. Can get over Serpent Knight Dragon with a Command Knight boost or a Kunai. So that was the reason for Blade Knight. For spells, only 3, and even this was kind of weird. 3 aerosols. I don't think I ever saw 3 before we tried it. Usually 2 was the standard number, and obviously that's for good reason because you can only use Hidden Parasite twice per duel. So kind of asking why would you ever play 3 aerosols? And the answer is simple, just to draw it. There were games in Dallas where I didn't draw aerosol, even though I was playing the anti-Serpent Knight Dragon deck, you could say. Still didn't see aerosol and just got ran over. So my thought process was I'd rather see this and use 2 copies and then see this dead late game against decks than not see aerosol against Serpent Knight Dragon at all. So, and it was pretty sound logic. Even against Serpent Knight, they could have Vigilance. So even when they have their ideal board of Serpent Knight, Vigilance, even Gentlemanders, throw that in there. If you have 2 aerosols, you still beat that board. So very good. And like I said, against other matchups, you just deck them out. So it didn't really matter if you saw the 3rd dead one late game against Tribal Gravekeepers, you're gonna win. And even against Warrior, since you had 21 cards, you were just gonna win. Another kind of cool thing I want to mention is if you had like aerosols, like let's say you open 2 or you open 1 you didn't need immediately, and you just set it and they got Death Tornado, that's 1 aerosol and no one thinks you're playing 3, so you play your next one and then they see 2 in the grave and they just go all in, they summon all their monsters, try to play through your Windstorms and Kunais, they have 3 monsters on board, and then bam, you just hit them with a 3rd aerosol. And I did that a couple times, felt really, really good. I'm not sure Marco did that in London at all. But yeah, kind of a neat thing, but basically just to draw it more against Serpent Knight Dragon. You didn't really mind the 3rd dead one. And then for the traps, I'll lay them all out. 3 Windstorm, 3 Kunai, 2 Dust, and Security Orb. So not much to say on these, they're really good. Nothing really changed from last format to make these worse or anything. So we don't really have to explain these cards. Security Orb was just another card. We wanted more defensive cards. We can't play Sphere Kribo in this deck. It conflicted way too much with Blade Knight. We tried it and it was just really, really crappy. So ended on Security Orb. It's kind of dangerous sometimes. You don't want to set it if they didn't have a monster. Sometimes they would catch you on it and destroy your monster even if you were trying to play correctly, so you couldn't always play around it. But generally it was just the 1-for-1 tilt, just like Sphere Kribo. And sometimes, I mean, if they dusted it and you could hit their opponent's their monster, it was game changing. It was game winning, actually. So when those situations came up, it was awesome. But basically, just another tilt. Can't play any more of these. Can't play spheres. So Security Orb, and it was also the 21st card. We're already playing 3 aerosols, 9 monsters, and then like max of traps. Didn't want to play a 3rd Dust Tornado, so this was kind of the best out of all the options. And then Dust Tornado, still pretty important, even though the games I went to deck out, you still had to play the games. You couldn't just sit there and get pounded and expect to deck them out. It was kind of a weird situation. I haven't seen Yu-Gi-Oh before where you're both just grinding and the games don't have an opportunity to end before you guys deck out. So you still need to play games. You still need to back and forth in the mirror match. It's really good in the mirror match. Really good against Gravekeepers because your Blade Knights just beat over the ambushers, or if you had double Command Knight, so you could press your advantage that way through battle. Duster back rows. Yeah, very good card. Obviously, I don't have to tell you guys that if you played last format. Even against Serpent Knight, you would rather have Night Beam to hit Champion's Vigilance, but you could set this alongside your other traps. Windstorm doesn't do anything, so you could set it with Windstorm. Death Tornado if they had a set Champion's Vigilance, and then let them pop the Windstorm, who cares? And then you can go in with your Aerosol next turn. So it had uses. So yeah. So now we'll get into the side deck. I'll just lay it out for you guys. It's kind of just a package deal here. We got Lucky Day and Dice Foon package. Got Warrior Elimination, right here. And we got 2 Magic Jammers. So we'll go with the Magic Jammers first. It's kind of needed. You couldn't really skimp on these cards. Serpent Knight kind of invalidated normal Yu-Gi-Oh cards, if that makes any sense. It doesn't care about Blade Knights, Command Knights, Windstorm. You really just need to see the cards that actually have value in that matchup. So it wasn't really a choice. We felt like we had to play Magic Jammer. Almost kind of wanted a third one, or like Blast Held by a Tribute, Wild Tornado, something like that. But we definitely needed these 5 cards. So it wasn't something we could really debate on. So that left us with the final 4 spots. And we just figured that this was the best package against grind decks. So obviously this is a skill, so it comes out for Hidden Parasite. So like I said, against grind decks, you really don't want aerosols, especially the 3rd, but probably not all of them, or any of them at all. So against all the grind decks, you would take out aerosol. So for the mirror match, for example, you take out all the aerosols for this, and it worked perfectly. You kind of needed this actually, because once they saw that you sided out of Hidden Parasite, they would not be scared of this card anymore. So again, just like Magic Jammer, this card's kind of non-negotiable. You had to play this card. So then that left us with 2 Dice Foons to kind of try to push our advantage in the mirror match and all the other decks. You're still trying to go to deck out, but like I said, you still have to play with them. You still have to grind back and forth, so you want to be able to have the advantage while grinding. So Dice Foons. And the problem that this left us was, since this is a skill card, not a real card, against decks that didn't play Warriors, like Relinquish and Gravekeepers, you only had 2 cards to side in and 3 cards to side out. So we had to end up settling for setting in a Magic Jammer against those decks, which isn't the worst. Against Relinquished, obviously, can hit Black Illusion Ritual. It's really good. If they have Relinquish set up and they're trying to Dice Foon, which is a huge tempo push, you can Magic Jammer your Dice Foon. Against Gravekeepers, it's the worst there, because if you hit their Dice Foon, you never really want to do that, because one, they don't have to activate their skill to get a +1. You just Magic Jammer and give them the +1. So it wasn't very good there, but it's you could kind of compare it to the 3rd Aerosol. You were always going to have a dead card in that matchup, so it doesn't really matter. And that matchup was kind of, I wouldn't say free, but as close as it could get to free. So it didn't really matter. You could always hit a big Warrior Elimination, which was really good, especially if they weren't on Aerosol and they were playing like Dice Foons, like I said, for example, and you could catch them just using Warrior Elimination before Dice Foon. That was huge. But yeah, wasn't the best, but we kind of had to deal with it. So that was the side deck. It worked pretty well. So yeah, that was a profile for Warrior. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did like it, please leave us a like or a thumbs up. It really means a lot to us. And also, if you want, please leave us a comment down below and tell us what you'd like to see next, any video ideas or anything like that. And then also in our description, we have our links to our social media pages and also our Patreon, if you're interested in that. But yeah, that's it. Next video is gonna be very special to me. I usually try to keep these videos detailed, but also on the shorter side, but my next video is gonna be very long. It's about my favorite deck, probably in the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Been playing since 2002. So hopefully you're looking forward to that, and see you next time, guys. Bye.